Today by mentioning Caesar Augustus. Caesar, meaning emperor, and all the world knew it. Caesar Augustus, after whom the month of our calendar, August, is named. Deified after his death, called King of Kings and Lord of Lords by upper and lower classes alike. No small amount of pomp and circumstance accompanied him wherever he went. It didn't matter who you were, to what social class you belonged to. Whenever his cavalcade approached, you had to stop whatever you were doing and focus your attention on him. He was Caesar, after all, and as a god could either favor or smite you at his whim. His birth, his life, his death, this was the stuff of songs and of poems and of hymns. In contrast, Luke focuses our attention today on the baby Jesus. By all accounts, his entrance into this world is, well, it's anything but pomp and circumstance. His father and mother are traveling by foot and maybe on a donkey in order to register for this census that Augustus has decreed. And never mind that Mary's 9 months pregnant. Caesar's not thinking about that. These are good, submissive citizens. Never mind, too, that later we hear Joseph and Mary, they offer the sacrifice of a dove for their birth. This is the sacrificial animal that is allowed to the poorer classes. You had to sacrifice something. The dove was for the poorer people. These are good citizens, but they're poor. They're common. They're ordinary people. So when they come and knock on the door at the inn, no special favors are made for them. There's no political clout. There's no bargains that are struck. There's no room for them. They're turned away. So when the baby's born, he's laid in a manger. That's a feeding trough for an animal. By all accounts, this is an ordinary, common birth. And then a few shepherds, they show up. They're dusty with work, maybe even sweaty and grimy and smelly. This fact, on its own, from Mary and Joseph's point of view, a few shepherds show up. Well, maybe this is pretty ordinary too. They're probably in a stable. Maybe the shepherds left something behind or coming to get them. But these shepherds seem unusually animated. They backhand each other and they say, "Look, amazing. Can you believe it? It's just as they said." And they start talking all at once and it sounds like gibberish to Joseph and Mary. They're trying to make sense, so they listen intently. And they hear something about an angel, something about a message, something about a whole host of angels. And what's this message? It's this baby. It's their baby. You will know him because he's lying in a manger. He will be the Savior and Lord and Messiah of all people, including Caesar. We hear the story today and we think, well, maybe this birth isn't quite as ordinary as it looks. Maybe Caesar, who is called King of Kings and Lord of Lords, isn't actually the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Did Caesar have angels from heaven sing at his birth? This is unheard of. There really is something extraordinary happening here. God is not aloof and far away from us, removed in some vast, far-off kingdom in heaven where he, kind of like Caesar, dwells away from the common people, away from us not really knowing about what we suffer, what we endure, what we enjoy. Now, someone once told me, I was kind of wrestling with this whole thing, how does God live beyond time and space? Because that's all we know is time and space. And a friend picked up a book. He said, well, it's kind of like a book, right? It's kind of like a person holding a book. God is the one, like the person, and All of time and space, all of life that we know, all of human history is captured in this book. Now, God can open to whatever page God likes, go to whatever page, or leave whatever page God desires. So my page, my journey, your page, it might be right here, and God may enter it for a while and understand it and read it and turn to it, but then God may turn 100 years ahead or 500 years back. Time and space is like that to God. Well, I didn't really like that illustration very much back then, and I think I like it even less now. To clarify, that is a good picture of one aspect of God. God does live beyond time and space, but that's not all. If that's how we picture God, God is aloof and far away and removed from humanity. But this story, this tells us God is also, and I think this is a much more important part of the story to us, God is also right here with us, right now, in all time and all space. Both outside of time and space, but also very much within all time and all space. That includes the manger on that night long ago, and at the same time God was in that manger, God was outside with the shepherds. That includes right here, right now, around this altar. But it also includes right now, God is with people in their homes, celebrating Christmas, spending time with each other, doing chores like laundry and taking out the trash. God is intimately there in each detail. Now, God is in our sacred religious rituals, yes. But I don't have to call God to be with us. God is always with us. It's not up to the priest. It's not up to the bishop. It's not up to our prayers. God is here all the time. Now, in theological terms, we'd say both these things, right? Both God is outside of time and space and all-powerful, but God, that's transcendent. That's the word for that. God being with us and around us all the time, intimately involved in our details, that's immanent. Those are the theological words. God is both transcendent and immanent. And I've talked about this idea in previous sermons. I've had conversations with people about it. We all seem to be in agreement. I mean, it's an easy enough idea in theory that, yes, there's got to be this balance of how we view God. God is both transcendent and immanent. But you know what happens? I think when we do some introspection, our practice shows that the balances are tipping probably more in favor of transcendence. Ask yourself, how do you address God in prayers? We ask ourselves as a church, how do we address God in prayer? We look around at our church and we think, what does our architecture convey? What do things like church orders, bishop, priest, deacon, lay people, what kind of messages do these teach us? What do they say about us? This hard work of introspection. We like this idea of balance between transcendence and immanence, but in all of our practice, are maybe the scales tipping more towards a God who is more like Caesar, far away, aloof, kind of removed from our lives, and less like a common, ordinary person? A common, ordinary person who was born in the same process that we were all born into the world. And a common, ordinary person who will come alongside of us and love us through the hardest details of our lives. That's Jesus. That's who's come into our world. Of course, I say common and ordinary. We know at the same time he is supreme God of all. That's that balance I think we need to bring a little bit of the scales, right? If they're tipped more towards transcendence, we need to bring them back into balance. That's what this season is doing for us. That's what is happening. If you've been to this church a little before, the last few weeks especially, We've changed some things around. The furniture's facing each other. The altar has moved from up there down here. You know what? This is just trying to bring this idea to life. Trying to bring more into balance this idea of transcendence and immanence. I wanted us to experience Jesus coming into humanity this Christmas. That's the incarnation. That's God with us. And so, really, that's where I'll leave it. I hope this is really my hope for you, my Christmas hope, that each of us, all of us in here, will truly experience the incarnation, God with us, this Christmas. Merry Christmas.